Lights have had their PS armor reduced from 30 to 20% as a base line, so that'll really slow them down. Greeks aren't really going to be able to spam them in the face of range units as heavily as they were, even though they are sort of still a good generalist unit. Essentially, they counted pretty much everything. Sweet, so I'll resign just to make it a little bit smoother. It means we lose the ability to switch to player camera, but it does mean it runs a little bit smoother, because essentially there's not a ghost player to allow that to happen. Wonder if that could ever be changed, so that the spectator doesn't necessarily have to resign and lose that in order to actually, you know, get the most optimal connection. I don't know if that really can be looked into or what. Anyways, so starting here down the bottom side with the red player SpartanxElite on his Norse. He's really quite a threatening player, particularly in the early game with the Civ, but particularly as of late he's really been trying to work on his late game, his longevity with the Civ. He's been going for a fairly macro oriented start, if you will. Double storehouse, though he's going for an early second stone mine rather than, early stone mine storehouse rather than first. Oh no, he's already got the wood line one over here. Nice. So he's actually going for triple storehouse pretty much immediately and squeezed his hunting dogs in. So he's been gathering a lot of early wood and he's doing quite well there. Over the top side, we've got Flutters here today. Really, really good player on his favourite colour, pink, and at the moment I think Greeks are probably his favourite jam. But I've seen him play quite a few different civs, Egypt in particular. He hasn't gone for hunting dogs. He'll be going for quite a quick age up here. Flutters, really, really good going for his early eco management, forcing out that early town centre. His opponent, Spartan, probably quite the opposite, renowned for late second town centre, third town centre style play. So it'll be an interesting matchup. Ooh, here we go. Flutters stealing some cows. Bad-mannered man. Pinched him straight off Spartan. So, yeah, both players seem to be happy with the map layout. And they're just chilling. So in terms of strategy, Norse probably going to play quite reactive and play quite anti-range oriented with Raiders, and then possibly take into War Dogs in Age 3, although Spartan doesn't really use a lot of them. Meanwhile, Flutters in his Age 2 be fairly anti-infantry oriented and try and really build it around the range in general, because Norse be building his around the melee. So lots of Toxotes, really good generalist bowmen, considering they've got a buff to their damage a couple of patches ago. So really quite a high value bowman, and they also train quite quickly once you actually get the academy out, so it's nice having a good all-round bowman unit in the Greek roster for everything other than the cost factor, but you know, pretty much efficient. So interesting here. Flutters is going to have a hard time actually trying to steal this back, so Spartan managing to pinch a couple of cows back, or at least one of them back. Those Flutters can find the most optimal break there, but I think he'll just manage to stick with the one. Spartan's going to keep scouting with his other scouts, so one of the Norse unique attributes is they've got 2 scouts, both on foot. Indians are actually going to have a foot scout as well. Every other civ, they're horseback, so where's Flutter's scout? Where's your scout, big fella? Here. So, let's see. Nice horsey. So, I'm sure Flutters prefers all the civs that have got a horseback civ. Horseback scout. So, second town centre here for Spartan, but look at this, Flutters is much faster on his second town centre production. So his build, holy, really early on the stone. I probably should have tracked it a lot better. Next game I think I'll really pay a bit more attention to the actual build order as such, but this one I'm sort of just waffling about general play. Flutters going for the barracks, so he's going to want to get some spearmen in the mix, because Spartan's no doubt going to get some raiders. But he's going to try, and most of his composition will probably be anti-infantry really, with Toxotes and some Hypaspis initially. Well, yeah, Spartan, he's going to have like a ranged anti-infantry that's sort of a soft anti-ranged counter. It still loses to bowmen, but really the throwing axemen will lose least badly against bowman units. So on top of that, the Norses, the raiders, they can use dogs and spearmen, but it's probably not the best way to approach the comp. Unless you really see like Sarasophroi harass, which does happen from time to time. But yeah, early spearmen just to defend, just to try and snare any raiders. So we're going to see a barracks coming out here for Spartan, which Flutters I don't think you'll know about just yet. So Flutters is going for 1-1-1 here. He is going to go for some form of Sari harass. Just try and scout out the hunts a little bit easier. Have his scout actually, you know, clear all the hunts he wants, and then look at actually throwing up some watch posts, and then just sort of passively scouting while he can sort of aggressively scout with a single Sarasophroi, and then send any of the rest to sort of follow up and actually get lots of kills. Villages in particular, but he would have to really be careful to avoid spearmen from SpartanxElite. But for now, he's actually getting throwing axemen, because they're also really quite valuable against Greek front line. And on top of that, they will actually trade reasonably against the Toxotes. He'll still lose, but not quite so badly. They've actually got a range bonus multiplier as well as infantry, but Toxotes will ultimately beat them. So Spartan using his infantry to actually build another unique Norse feature, while the Greeks very tech facility oriented. Both sets of quite high value units overall. So here we go. Sari for Flutters. Wonder if he'll look at poking with it. Yeah, he's going to look at scouting straight away. Meanwhile, yeah, Spartan building up. Just got some units in the mid-map to defend. I mean, to scout out. Sari. Ooh. Let's stop and kill these wolves. Wait for a friend. So village accounts 42 to 38. So there's a 4-vill lead, about 10% eco in favour of Flutters. So it's the beauty of going for this earlier town centre. He's managing to squeeze out 4 extra villages. Quite nice, because I don't think Spartan's really having any difficulty with his macro these days, although he is probably over gathering gold slightly, unless he's just trying to squeeze out an early age 3 here. Well, actually, that might be what he's trying to do here. Neither player's really attacked one another here. Armory coming up, early one here for Spartan. Nice, so this is really quite smooth. Perhaps a tad slow on the production, but I don't think he's really that far behind Flutters. His unit production, his army production is probably slightly lacking, but I mean, if he squeezes in conditioning, really throws up another stable or barracks on top of this. Maybe he looks at either transitioning to war dogs or just sticking hard with the raiders and just throwing up more stables behind this as he can afford them. I think he can really tussle with Greek army from Flutters, but we're seeing some harass come in now. So the 3 Sari push will take 3 or 4 bursts to actually kill the villager, but it's much better than sending only one. Ooh, wonder if there's going to be an engagement here. So Flutters has a unit on the perimeter to scout, but there's plenty of units here from the Greek plate actually get a kill. The Sari's going to come in and harass as well. So yeah, 3. Well, that's going to kill. 1 hit actually. Damn nice. Didn't realise it only took 2 bursts. Nice. Just as efficient as the other civs. Yeah, oh that's right, they got 20% extra burst villages. Oh. Spartan gonna have to back off. Just have to be careful because, yeah, now with 20% villager bonus. Saris must have only got that in a recent patch. It's just going to mean it takes only 2 bursts rather than 3 to actually kill. With only 3 Saris. Flutters going for a quick age 3. Spartan's not going to be too far behind though because, I mean, he's got temper and he's already got his armor upgrades in queue, so all these resources will be going towards his age 3, I think. And he will have an armory upgrade advantage here, but he is quite down on pop, so I don't know if he wants to move out just yet. And these raiders are being challenged straight into the front line for now, while he probably needs to get a serious connection onto the Toxotes to just try and force Flutters to actually minimize his damage output in order to maximize his actual incoming damage. It's a rough fight here for SpartanxElite. Flutters really quite heavy comp here, and even though the Saris aren't quite useful in the comp, Flutters has really only got enough to just harass with. The bulk of the comp is still Toxotes, and it's a little bit of a front line, enough to really deal with the amount of raiders he's seen coming out from Spartan at the moment, who is actually going to switch to Rangers. So he's going to get some bowmen, going to get some towers up in his base, going to be able to defend quite nicely from here, but skirmishes. He's probably better off just getting bowmen and then just making raiders, getting champion, and making war dogs with the double upgrade as his anti-range, because using population on skirmishes is just really ineffective, because as soon as the only value they're going to be is against Toxotes, they're basically useless against every other unit. So in this matchup, personally, I think if you just get bowmen, get more raiders, get champion on them, if you need to, get some horsemen just to deal with that number of Saris so your own bowmen can engage in the fight, and get some war dogs, I think is probably the way to play, because the war dogs as well is 32 units that cost no population, and they're going to be good at dealing with the Saris and with the Toxotes once you take both upgrades on them. Sorry to sort of throw in my Norse bias there, but here we go. Flutters really quite tidy stuff here. Going to be able to boom up to 180 pop. He's already at 160, so he's got a hefty advantage here, despite the fact that he hasn't got any upgrades just yet. And like I said, Greeks is a fairly tech-oriented civ, but he has double temple, so he's got the ability to throw in some priests. So the priests, nice conversion, and they're also going to mean he can heal up all these high-value units. Both civs, quite high-value unit civs that also have late access to healing. Spartan isn't going to have access to any till age 3 to get his Rhapsodies. Just like the Greek player has to wait to 3 to get his priests. So nice addition there for Flutters that he has over Spartan. But Spartan managing to hit 140 pop at this stage. He just needs to throw down 2 more longhouses, and that's a good number of skirms and raiders, which he's going to circle with the raiders, but he needs the skirms to engage from this other side, because if he can catch them in the sandwich without bleeding too many from the Saris, which I don't know if he's going to be able to do, because Flutters has quite nice unit control here as well. And he's going to be able to heal up this Tox ball pretty quickly, as well as the spears that brought down all the raiders, so there's not really much of a front line for Spartan now, and Flutters has still got a bit of one here. There's some hoplites in the mix now, so big beefy fellas. Still not going to trade greatly against the throwing axemen, but Spartan doesn't have a lot of throwing axemen left at the moment, and he's had to squeeze in a bit of a late conditioning upgrade there, I think. The train time, the first tier train time upgrade from the barracks. It's age 3, a little bit slower than Flutters here, so 75 villages to 71. Flutters actually must have hit where he wants his villages to be. Oh no, he's going to boom up past 75 actually. I thought he was going to hit 75 and sort of stabilize. Looks like Spartan's basically stabilizing off 71 villages. Probably going to look at adding markets from here as well, because he's sort of going to have an ideal 20 market pop, caravan pop holding there. Flutters going to go a bit heavier on the village account, all the way up to, I think he'll go to 81. And he'll probably only run with 5 caravans or a late market. I think he's just going to try and break Spartan from here. I think he might have the army and eco to do so from here. Spartan does have a bit in the bank if he can manage to secure some more food, but he doesn't really have a lot of over here scouted, doesn't really have a lot of control of over here, so he needs to get fast farms down. He does already have the first farm upgrade, but no irrigation. And these skirms, because they're not able to get to the front line, they're just being pretty useless here. You really need to have the Norse bowman as your backline unit, or just throwing axemen really, and just have more raiders and maybe the war dogs. I think so right now Flutters is just really taking control in this game. He's up by about nearly 100 pop at this stage. Spartan going to try go for the defensive fortress, forcing a lot of his villagers onto it, but I don't know if he's got enough because a lot of his villagers are going to fall in the process, and Flutters is pretty much pop capped. 81 villagers and stabilizing there. Spartan falling all the way down to 55. Trying to train through this, but he doesn't want to spend all his food on villagers because he doesn't really have enough to keep his production queues full. Fortress does finish, and it's going to be a bit of a pain in the ass for all these range units because they're going to be pretty ineffective against it, while at the same time they're going to take shitloads of damage from it. But saying that, there's plenty of spearmen and plenty of hoplites here with priests to back them up, healing them through it. So Spartan's going to have to be careful here and try and repair this, try and gather as best he can through this. But Flutters going to take the upgrade lead behind this. He's going to set himself up to go to age 4, I think. He's getting a lot of map control, just taking resources all around the map, all the way to the corner. And there's barely any skirmishes, barely any range left for Spartan. He's trying to train some now. He's actually going to get a good sandwich here on a couple of the hoplites, I think. But over here at the other side of his base, Flutters is just pushing relentlessly. Still some gold miners, cheeky gold miners at the back. I don't know if Flutters knows about them. Spartan doesn't really have a problem with gold. He really needs food at the moment, so there's no food income for Spartan. He's not able to train anything through this. He's down to 17 pop. I think it's all over. GG's, guys. Spartan's just going to stay just a second. Well, the fortress goes down, maybe. Yeah, 8 pop here. Spartan can't really do anything through this. GG. Well played, guys. If we go to the... where's villages? Both players aging up at 13 vills. But Flutters managing to finish his town centre a little bit earlier. And just... you can just see this explosion of vills where he's up by about 4 vills all through that early eco. And then on top of that, when it comes to the fights, he just managed to take slightly better fights there, I think. Spartan walking away with his tail between his legs, partly because of the army differential, partly because of the fact that I think he went with the skirms in the later fights rather than just more throwing axemen and raiders. Or if you want to squeeze out the rangers, maybe go for the bowmen, just because you're going to have better damage against the front line and against the cavalry of your opponent. But GG, well played. Really tidy stuff from both players, but Flutters in particular, or even a bit of a forward base there.